Hi, everybody. And in today's video, I'm going to unpack a concept that we say all the time in our community, in my podcast, in my book, and that is eat until you're satisfied. It's so simple, but it's also something that people struggle with. So there are three questions that I want you to ask yourself when you're deciding if you are satisfied. First, ask yourself, am I physically satisfied? Now, to really understand that concept, I want you to think about all of the complex feedback mechanisms that your body has to send to your brain to let you know when you've had enough to eat. So we've got, sensors that let us know when there's a lot of stretch going on. The food is kind of stretching out our stomachs, and as it moves through our digestive tract, the volume of the food, the weight of the food. And you can really understand this concept when you think about what foods we're eating and how those foods might lead to us being physically satisfied. Let's compare a potato in a couple of its forms. First of all, a giant baked potato. Now, you may think of a baked potato as something that you shouldn't have, if you're trying to lose weight. But at the time of my intermittent fasting journey that I was actually losing weight the most quickly, I ate a whole lot of baked potatoes. And I think that's because they led to a great deal of physical satisfaction for me. They are big, they're heavy, they have a lot of volume, they stretch out those stretch receptors. I had butter and sour cream, they were delicious. So after I ate a big baked potato, I had physical satisfaction from my body. Now compare that to potato chip. Even if I had the exact same caloric amount of potato chip, I'm not going to have that physical satisfaction from that bag of potato chips. It's not got a lot of volume, not a lot of weight, not going to lead to a lot of stretch. So I could eat and eat and eat those potato chips and never feel physically satisfied the same way the big baked potato makes me feel. So again, it doesn't have to be a baked potato. Whatever foods help you feel physically satisfied. Maybe it's a delicious piece of chicken or salmon or whatever it is, lots of beans and veggies. Whatever foods are going to help your body know that you've eaten sufficient amount of food, engage your stretch receptors, and make you feel physically satisfied. The second question to ask yourself is this: am I nutritionally satisfied? You may have heard me say this time and again on my podcasts or in my books. I don't believe that our bodies count calories. I think they count nutrients. We've got all sorts of different ways that our bodies also sense nutrients coming in. And if we have not eaten sufficient nutrients, our body is going to be like, hello, that wasn't it. Send something else down. And I've had this experience myself. Like I remember very, very clearly, and I don't eat fast food very often. I can't even think of the last time I've eaten it. But years ago, I had a hankering for some McDonald's, like a Big Mac, fries, a Coke. What can I say? I'm a real person. So I had that meal. I had a Big Mac, fries, and a Coke, and that is a giant caloric load right there. So if all our bodies did were count calories, I should have been full and satisfied for a long time, right? Wrong. Even though I had a lot of food, not even probably an hour later, my body was like, yeah, that wasn't it. My body was not nutritionally satisfied. So I needed to eat something with some nutrients in it. So, you don't have to be perfect to be an intermittent faster, but if you're not nutritionally satisfied, your body's going to send you back in there into the kitchen, into the pantry to look for something else. If you ever find yourself wandering around the kitchen or the pantry, just eating random things, pause for a minute and say, am I nutritionally satisfied? And if the answer is no, then you need to think about what do you have that's nutritious that would make your body happy. All right, the third question that I want you to ask yourself is, am I emotionally satisfied? And I think that's a component that we forget about. I did a lot of diets back in the day, diets where you had to give things up or only eat certain foods or follow something that was prescriptive. Like I remember one, I can't remember what it was called, but you weren't supposed to put salt on your food. I don't know. But I remember that you were supposed to make like chicken breasts and roasted broccoli, but you weren't supposed to add any salt or seasoning. You were just supposed to eat the vegetables, the meat, the lean proteins, whatever they were. And so, was I physically satisfied? Sure. Maybe I was eating a large volume of food. That food did have nutrients, right? It was nutritionally dense food. But after I ate those very unappealing meals, I was not emotionally satisfied. And so I was like, well, that wasn't it. I wanted something else. And so if your meal is not emotionally satisfying, then you're going to keep wanting to go back and have something else. So that's why when you're trying to force yourself to eat foods that you don't like or, something that is supposed to be good for you, you don't quite feel satisfied at the end of your meal because it wasn't delicious. Maybe you're somebody that needs to end with a little something sweet. There's smart ways to do that. I love to eat dates. I keep medjool dates in my refrigerator all the time. I love to eat frozen grapes. I've got some fresh pineapple in there. What I'm not doing is eating a lot of, cake and cookies and ice cream, although there's room in my window for some of that when I really want it or it's a special occasion. But if I need to have a little something sweet, I make sure to have something on hand that gives me that emotional satisfaction after my nutritious meal. So when you're thinking, am I satisfied? Really check back in with yourself and think about what you ate. Did it satisfy you physically? If not, you may need to eat a larger volume of food. Did it satisfy you nutritionally? If not, you're going to need to find some more nutrients, something that's delicious that gives your body the nutrients that it needs. And finally, am I emotionally satisfied? And if the answer is no, it's time to think about the high quality foods that are going to make you feel happy. All of those diets that made me leave things out and eat foods I didn't like. As soon as I would get frustrated, it would send me right to something that I knew wasn't good for me, but I was trying to find that emotional satisfaction. When I check in with those three questions, I do a much better job eating until I'm satisfied. Now, if you would like to connect with me, there are two ways to do it. First of all, in our community, if you go to jenstevens.com/community, you can join our community. I'm there every day. We have other wonderful community members that you can talk to that have experiences just like yours. No matter what you're struggling with, someone in the community has been through that too. So we're always there to support you and also celebrate things with you as well. Also, if you're interested in troubleshooting a problem or a challenge that you might be having, you can send an email to me at jen@intermittentfastingstories.com and tell me that you are emailing about coming on YouTube with me for a support session. Tell me a little bit about the issue or the challenge that you're having. And if you are selected, you'll get to pick a date. We'll do a short video recording that will appear on YouTube. So I look forward to seeing you in the community. And until next time, fast on.